Before we cross into the unknown, leave a hello in the comments. Even the smallest signal can ripple across galaxies, guiding fellow wanderers to this tale. Let me know you're out there. A voice among the stars, listening with me beyond the veil. Engines roared as the Vanguard tore through the outer system, its thrusters trembling under strain. Commander Tavik gritted his teeth, scanning the derelict ship drifting silently against the backdrop of dying stars. The hull was scarred, life signs long absent, but the black box blinked insistently. A cold dread settled over him. He recognized the name etched in the recordings, Captain Mira Dax. The moment of discovery struck like betrayal. Her warning unheeded by the Colonial Council, humanity blind to a threat beyond reckoning. Tavik activated the playback. Mira's voice trembled over static. We saw the Harvester fleet. Star-sized constructs devouring galaxies. Each word etched terror into the bridge crew. The sensors confirmed energy spikes at the galactic rim, the same readings the Council dismissed. Tavik's fleet was outnumbered, but the universe demanded action. Orders were given, shields powered, weapons calibrated. The first encounter loomed, vast and unknowable, and every officer knew the margin for error was zero. Humanity's survival rested on courage, timing, and one desperate gamble. The Vanguard slipped into the shadows of a binary star, scanners straining to map the drifting anomaly. Tavik's voice cut through the bridge, calm but steely. All squadrons, maintain formation. Any sensor blips, report immediately. The fleet obeyed, a fragile lattice of human ingenuity against cosmic devastation. Communication logs from Mira's crew flickered across the screens, revealing fragmented sightings. Colossal appendages of machinery tearing at light years of stars, a horror that defied comprehension. Every officer swallowed hard, the silence of space pressing like a hand around their hearts. Tavik turned to his science officer. What's our proximity to the energy signature? The reply was grim. Within 10 hours of the rim. Calculations churned on the holo display. Time, distance, probability of survival. Tavik felt the weight of responsibility as if it were gravity itself. The first of the harvesters would not wait. He issued orders to deploy reconnaissance drones, their tiny engines whispering through the void. Each probe was a messenger of risk, a fragile eye against something designed to annihilate entire star systems. And as the fleet approached, an uneasy quiet fell, broken only by the faint hum of overworked engines. The void lit up as the first drone transmitted its feed, a cathedral of metal, bigger than any star Tavik had charted, hung like a predator in space. Energy streams siphoned light from distant suns, galaxies twisting in its wake. Tavik's stomach churned. Every officer felt the raw scale of the threat. Maintain distance, he ordered, voice steady, though his hands shook over the controls. Every maneuver had to be precise. The Harvester could obliterate them with a single misstep. The fleet's tactical AI hummed warnings, predicting decay of structural integrity within minutes if they drew too close. Tavik studied the readings. The patterns of energy harvesting were almost sentient. It anticipates movement, the science officer whispered. The fleet executed a delicate dance, weaving through debris, avoiding detection. Tavik felt history pressing upon him. The knowledge of past civilizations vanished, likely consumed by fleets like this. He issued a risky command. Prepare the pulse cannons. Draw its attention, but do not engage fully. The first strike could provoke, but hesitation would be fatal. The captain's log hummed quietly, recording every heartbeat of a crew standing on the knife edge between survival and extinction. Alarms screamed as the Harvester shifted its attention, colossal appendages spiraling toward the fleet. Tavik's squadron formed a protective barrier, thrusters burning as maneuvers tested every ounce of engineering genius. Pilots gritted their teeth against G-forces, feeling the intangible weight of annihilation pressing down. Every officer knew the stakes. This was not a skirmish, but a testament of human resolve. The void itself seemed to shiver as light bent unnaturally around the monstrous construct. Tavik's eyes locked on the bridge monitors. The pulse cannons fired in synchronized bursts, striking at reflective armor panels that shimmered like liquid metal. Sparks of light, inconsequential to the Harvester's scale, danced across space. He barked orders, routing every energy reserve to shields, praying calculations were precise. Yet, within the chaos, a single realization gnawed at him. Humanity's tactics were primitive, improvisation their only weapon. And still, amidst fear and awe, the crew pressed on, hearts steeled against a universe that had already devoured countless others. A rupture of light tore across the fleet as the Harvester unleashed a pulse wave. Tavik gritted his teeth, feeling vibrations resonate through the hull. Communications flickered, some channels were lost entirely. The galaxy-sized machine moved like a predator hunting, calculating. Tavik's voice cut over the comms. Brace for impact. Divert all power to front shields. Officers moved like clockwork, engines roaring as the fleet twisted to absorb the blow. Every second stretched into eternity, yet no human blinked. The first contact had begun, and it was already more than anyone's mind could process. Through the chaos, Tavik glimpsed the enormity of what they faced. Light itself bending unnaturally, stars dimming in proximity. Calculations screamed that the fleet could not survive a prolonged encounter. Yet retreat meant abandoning the galactic rim, leaving billions unprotected. Tavik made the command decision. Hold the line, buy time. Each pulse of the Harvester's energy reverberated through their bodies, a reminder that the universe was far larger, older, and more merciless than humanity had ever imagined. And yet, amidst fear, courage burned fiercely, a fragile but unyielding flame. Tavik's fleet skirted the edges of a shattered nebula, the debris field a graveyard of failed probes and star fragments. The Harvester pulsed with predatory awareness, energy siphoning as if tasting the void. "Keep the drones deployed," Tavik commanded, eyes glued to the shifting patterns of light. Each new sensor reading revealed something impossible. Structural segments moving independently, appendages reshaping to intercept the fleet. Every officer understood. They were contending with intelligence far beyond their comprehension. Tavik activated the tactical AI overlay, mapping escape vectors against energy fluxes. "We can't outrun it, only mislead," he said. Squadron leaders synchronized maneuvers, weaving through debris while feigning attacks. The Harvester reacted instantly, shifting appendages with terrifying precision. A pulse wave grazed the rear escorts, tearing communication arrays. Tavik gritted his teeth. Time was bleeding away, and the Colonial Council's warnings, or lack thereof, felt like a distant memory. Humanity's first real encounter with the Harvester fleet was not a test, but a crucible of survival. The bridge shuddered as a tendril of the Harvester brushed past the fleet. Tavik clenched the console edge, scanning for weak points. "Focus on the siphoning nodes," the science officer urged. Holographic schematics revealed pulsating cores feeding its energy network. Targets, yes, but nearly impossible to reach. Pilots executed daring loops around the appendages, their engines screaming. The void seemed alive, bending reality around the ship as if mocking human audacity. Tavik initiated a calculated gamble. "All pulse cannons, charge sequence gamma, fire on my mark." Seconds stretched, tension coiled like a spring. As energy bolts arced through space, the Harvester reacted, deflecting some pulses and absorbing others. Sparks of light danced across the appendages, momentary flares against the darkness. The fleet dodged with millimeter precision, calculating every maneuver, praying the Harvester's reaction wasn't instantaneous. Tavik's heart raced. Every second, the line between survival and annihilation blurred further. A quiet scream cut through comms as the first frigate was shredded. Tavik's jaw tightened, watching sensors feed fragmented visuals. Hulls ripped apart, light bending unnaturally around the wreckage. Officers muttered calculations, struggling to reconcile physics with the impossible scale of the threat. Tavik gritted his teeth. Loss was inevitable, but hesitation would mean extinction. Every maneuver became a dance between desperation and hope, and every heartbeat felt borrowed. The pulse cannons fired again, synchronized with evasive patterns. Tavik's AI overlaid probable outcomes, each route fraught with peril, some bordering on suicidal. Still, small victories emerged. The harvester's appendages overextended, exposing a faintly glowing node, vulnerable for a fraction of a second. "Target that node, all squadrons." Tavik's voice resonated with urgency and authority. Engineers diverted power, shields flickered, and the fleet executed maneuvers that had been theorized only in simulations. Humanity's ingenuity sparked against an alien colossus, a fragile light in a devouring darkness. Energy flares erupted as the pulse cannon struck, staggering the harvester momentarily. Tavik exhaled sharply. The node held, a tiny victory amidst chaos. Sensors picked up microfractures along the appendage armor, subtle but critical. "Maintain pressure," Tavik ordered, voice taut. Every crew member understood the stakes. They were not winning. They were surviving long enough to buy time for the colonies. The cosmic predator pulsed, as if assessing the challenge, and the void itself seemed to shiver under its presence. Pilots weaved through gaps in debris, coordinating with pulse strikes in precise choreography. A small frigate grazed the node, lancing energy beams into the harvester's core. Sparks of blue-white light exploded in space. Tavik felt the fleet shudder in triumph and terror simultaneously. Yet, even as they inflicted minor damage, the sheer scale of the harvester reminded them of their fragility. The battle was far from over, and the galactic rim hung in precarious balance. Tavik's eyes burned into the void, searching for the next move, calculating, relentless. The harvester adjusted, massive appendages sweeping with lethal precision. Tavik barked new orders, drawing fire away from fragile support ships. "Evasive patterns, Delta, now!" The fleet twisted and turned, engines roaring against impossible odds. Sensors recorded energy spikes, predicting the harvester's attacks, yet the creature adapted faster than any AI model. Every officer's heartbeat synced with the tactical feed. Every maneuver a gamble against an intelligence older than galaxies. A brilliant flare lit the void. The pulse cannons had hit a secondary energy conduit. The harvester recoiled, vibrations shuddering through space. Tavik allowed himself a brief, controlled exhale, though relief was tempered by looming dread. This victory was temporary. Calculations indicated reinforcements could appear at any moment, and the colony systems remained dangerously exposed. Tavik's mind raced, balancing strategy, risk, and the weight of humanity's survival. They had faced the first harvester head-on and lived, but the war for the galaxy had only just begun. Tavik's fleet regrouped in the shadow of a gas giant, engines still thrumming from near-catastrophic maneuvers. The harvester pulsed at the galactic rim, a predator observing its prey. "We need better intel," Tavik muttered, eyes scanning sensor readouts. Recon drones returned fragmented holograms, appendages twisting in impossible geometry, energy conduits that shimmered like liquid light. The fleet's AI calculated attack patterns, yet the predictions were unstable. The harvester adapted faster than any simulation could anticipate. Tavik tapped the comms. "Prepare probe swarm Gamma. We map every node it exposes." Engineers poured energy into micro-drones, their engines whispering as they launched. Each drone was a tiny sensor, a risk against a machine that could crush them effortlessly. The fleet watched screens flicker with real-time holograms, observing the harvester as it harvested stellar matter. Tavik's voice resonated with authority, balancing fear and resolve. Humanity's survival depended on learning the predator's patterns before it struck again. A sudden energy surge rattled the fleet. Tavik leaned forward, reading the data. The Harvester was forming a coordinated network with fragments in the nebula. "It's communicating," the science officer whispered, awe in her voice. Appendages extended like neural tendrils, signals pulsing at light speed. Tavik felt a chill. This was no mindless machine. It was a predator with intelligence beyond human comprehension. Tavik ordered evasive maneuvers while probe drones transmitted live feed. The Harvester anticipated each twist, forcing the fleet to push engines to dangerous limits. A corvette veered too close. Sensors screamed before systems stabilized. Tavik's mind raced, overlaying possible strategies, each more desperate than the last. The fleet's goal was clear: survive long enough to understand the enemy. Every decision was a gamble, every pulse of energy a silent countdown toward the next strike. Through the chaos, Tavik glimpsed a weak fluctuation in the Harvester's core nodes. Brief, fleeting. "Target that anomaly," he barked. Pilots executed tight loops, threading through appendages that threatened to slice ships in half. The fleet coordinated in near-perfect synchronization, human reflexes augmented by tactical AI. The void itself seemed to pulse with the Harvester's awareness, a silent predator adjusting to every maneuver. Energy beams struck the node, sparking brilliance across the creature's hull. Tavik's console flooded with data. The Harvester recoiled slightly. Engineers cheered silently, the first measurable effect. But the celebration was short-lived. Sensors detected an approaching energy signature from the galactic rim. Tavik's stomach tightened. Reinforcements? Another Harvester? Or a natural phenomenon? The unknown loomed, pressing on the fleet like the gravitational pull of a dying star. Humanity's fight had entered a new, more perilous stage. The fleet veered toward a nearby cluster of dwarf stars, hoping the chaotic gravitational fields would mask movements. Tavik plotted every route with meticulous care, aware that a single miscalculation could spell doom. Sensors detected faint rhythmic pulses. More than one Harvester might be active. Tavik's pulse quickened. Time was fracturing. Every second stretched into a lifetime of calculations, choices, and instinctive reaction. Drones reported microfractures along one appendage, a tiny but exploitable vulnerability. Tavik issued orders for concentrated pulse strikes, balancing risk and precision. The Harvester's reactions grew erratic, almost as if frustrated by human ingenuity. Tavik felt a spark of cautious optimism, tempered immediately by reality. This predator had centuries, perhaps millennia, of evolutionary advantage. The fleet pressed on. Every crew member braced against exhaustion, fear, and the relentless scale of cosmic war. A violent pulse wave shattered communications briefly, the fleet staggering under the energy shock. Tavik's jaw clenched. All squadrons, brace and return fire at the next node. Precision is everything. The Harvester loomed like a galaxy-sized predator, appendages writhing, energy conduits glowing with deadly intent. Every officer aboard felt the sheer scale of what they faced, an intelligence beyond humanity, indifferent to survival. Tavik watched as concentrated pulse fire grazed a node, sparks illuminating the darkness. The creature recoiled, appendages twisting unpredictably. Data streamed in. Small successes, but still a colossal imbalance of power. Tavik's mind raced with tactics, diversionary maneuvers, probing attacks, synchronized strikes. Humanity's ingenuity was fragile, but relentless. Against a predator that devoured galaxies, the fleet clung to survival by a thread, knowing every action counted. The war had escalated, and the first Harvester encounter was far from over. The fleet slipped into the shadow of a collapsing star, engines roaring as gravitational tides tugged violently. Tavik's hands danced over the controls, plotting vectors no human had ever attempted. Sensors screamed. Energy readings fluctuated unpredictably. The Harvester pulsed in the void, appendages lashing, probing the gravitational maelstrom as if aware of every move. Every pilot felt the delicate balance between survival and annihilation. the weight of history pressing on their shoulders. Tavik activated advanced targeting matrices. Focus on the distal nodes. Use the grav field to amplify pulse damage. Engineers rerouted power to pulse cannons. Shields thrummed against the tidal forces. Small victories erupted as nodes flickered under concentrated fire. But even as the Harvester recoiled, Tavik knew it was studying their tactics, learning, adapting. Humanity's ingenuity was fragile, brilliant, and insufficient without luck and timing. The war for survival had entered a deadly new rhythm. A sudden energy surge tore across the fleet, throwing frigates off course. Tavik's stomach tightened as consoles screamed warnings. The Harvester had adapted, targeting weak points in formation with deadly precision. Pilots twisted their ships, engines burning beyond recommended thresholds, evading annihilation by mere meters. The void itself seemed to pulse with the Predator's awareness. "Hold formation," Tavik ordered, voice tight, authority unshaken. Every second was a test, every decision a knife's edge. Recon drones relayed fleeting glimpses of the creature's core, now partially exposed. Tavik barked orders. "Gamma swarm, deploy, keep nodes in view at all times." Drones darted like sparks through the darkness, feeding live telemetry. Engineers frantically recalculated shield and pulse trajectories. The Harvester reacted, tendrils shifting unpredictably, yet small successes emerged. Humanity's courage clung to hope and precision. Tavik felt the weight of lives, colonies, and centuries of unrecorded civilizations as if every heartbeat mattered. And it did. The fleet approached a fractured nebula, its filaments stretching light years. Tavik adjusted courses, weaving through plasma storms that could shred unshielded ships in moments. Energy spikes flared around the Harvester, revealing appendages stretching farther than sensors predicted. Tavik's pulse quickened. The creature was mapping them, studying gravitational flows, anticipating movements. Every maneuver demanded absolute precision. The universe seemed alive with tension, the void humming with cosmic malice. Tavik activated pulse cannons with calculated timing, synchronized with evasive arcs through plasma. Sparks of energy illuminated the void, nodes glowing under concentrated fire. Engineers monitored structural strain on the fleet, adjusting shields dynamically. The Harvester recoiled, appendages twisting unpredictably, revealing a pattern, but fleeting. Tavik noted it, storing data in real time. Every engagement brought them closer to understanding the Predator, yet every victory was a reminder of fragility. Humanity's ingenuity remained resilient, but insufficient without courage and split-second decisions. A corvette screamed over the void, engines flaring as the Harvester's appendage struck near miss. Tavik clenched the console edge. "Maintain focus. Protect the weak." Sensors revealed energy conduits fluctuating, nodes pulsing with renewed vigor. The creature's intelligence was undeniable. It calculated, adapted, and learned faster than any human model. The fleet twisted and looped through debris, plasma clouds igniting as small strikes chipped at appendage armor. Every heartbeat felt borrowed. Tavik's tactical overlay highlighted a recurring pattern, a micro-vulnerability emerging every few pulses. "Concentrate fire on the node during its phase," he ordered. The pulse cannons fired, energy beams weaving through the void, striking with deadly precision. Engineers shouted data corrections, recalculating shield and power ratios in real time. The Harvester recoiled again, exposing a second node momentarily. Tavik's mind raced. This was learning, yes, but also predictable if timing could be mastered. Humanity's survival depended on exploiting these fleeting windows, one pulse at a time. The Harvester emitted a low-frequency pulse, rippling through space. Tavik felt it in the hull, in the very fibers of the ship. "It's testing our limits," the science officer whispered. The fleet twisted through the nebula, engines screaming against gravitational tides. Sensors picked up microfractures forming along appendages, nodes pulsing with unstable energy. Tavik gritted his teeth, every maneuver counted, every miscalculation deadly. Humanity's ingenuity clung to the razor-thin margin of survival. Pulse cannons fired in precise sequences, exploiting the node's fleeting vulnerability. Sparks flared across the harvester's appendage, and the creature recoiled with palpable force. Tavik allowed himself a fleeting breath, but the knowledge of further threats loomed. Multiple harvesters could converge, or new appendages could adapt. Engineers recalibrated shields, drones zipped through debris, and pilots executed near-impossible maneuvers. Humanity had survived the initial contact, buying time for colonies at the galactic rim, but the war had only begun, and the Predator was learning faster than they could imagine. The fleet drifted into a silent sector, a void stretching like black silk. Tavik studied readings. Energy fluctuation suggested another harvester nearby, hidden beyond sensor limits. "They're coordinating," he muttered. Pilots tightened formation, engines low to avoid detection. Every ship felt the oppressive scale of the threat, an intelligence older than galaxies watching, calculating, and learning. Tavik's hands hovered over consoles, plotting contingencies in real time. Drones deployed cautiously, weaving through cosmic debris. Each feed streamed glimpses of appendages extending, nodes glowing in perfect rhythm. Tavik issued precise orders. Probe patterns, maintain evasive vectors, and synchronize pulse sequences. The harvester's presence pressed on the fleet like gravity itself. Every move had consequences. A miscalculation could trigger annihilation. Yet humanity persisted, ingenuity and courage interlacing with fear, every second a fragile victory against incomprehensible odds. A sudden surge from the galactic rim lit the void. Another harvester revealed itself, immense and alien. Tavik's fleet shuddered, engines overclocked to avoid immediate destruction. "Brace for dual engagement," he shouted, heart racing. Sensors screamed warnings. Nodes flickered across both colossal constructs, and the fleet's AI struggled to predict movements. Every officer knew the stakes. Failure meant entire colonies erased before humanity could react. Tavik ordered synchronized pulse fire, splitting energy between two colossal threats. Pilots executed near-impossible loops, dodging appendages that twisted unpredictably. Drones fed live telemetry, highlighting microfractures in armor, nodes exposed for fractions of a second. Engineers recalibrated shields in real time, diverting power from non-essential systems. The fleet's cohesion teetered on a knife edge, yet Tavik's commands held, balancing desperation and precision. Humanity clung to survival, buying minutes against predators designed to erase civilizations. An energy wave slammed through the fleet, ripping communication channels. Tavik clenched his jaw as frigates wavered, systems straining against gravitational forces. The harvesters coordinated, appendages sweeping in calculated arcs. Pilots screamed in the void, engines screaming beyond recommended thresholds. Tavik's mind raced, overlaying possible tactical maneuvers against the dual threats, each more desperate than the last. Survival required split-second precision, instinct, and courage. Recon drones detected a pattern. Nodes pulsed in sequence, revealing temporary structural weaknesses. Tavik barked orders. Focus fire. Time the pulse for each phase. Cannons discharged, arcs of energy striking in near-perfect synchronization. The harvesters recoiled unpredictably, but patterns emerged. Engineers adjusted shields dynamically, and drones darted to maintain visual on exposed conduits. Humanity's ingenuity shone in microbursts of success, small sparks of resistance against colossal predators, each victory fleeting but essential. Tavik's fleet pivoted near a dense asteroid field, hoping terrain could mask movements. The dual harvesters pulsed in tandem, energy flowing through appendages like sentient veins. Tavik calculated the odds of survival, remote but not zero. Every pilot braced against G-forces, engines whining as they threaded impossible paths. The void itself seemed alive, bending light and gravity under the Predator's influence. Pulse cannons fired sequentially, striking the nodes as revealed by drone telemetry. Sparks flared across appendages. The creatures recoiled with visible force. Sensors recorded structural microfractures, data humanity could exploit. Tavik's mind raced, coordinating attacks, evasive arcs, and drone positioning. The fleet clung to life through precision and timing, each second a delicate balance between destruction and survival. Humanity was proving resilient, adaptive, and audacious, even in the face of galactic-scale annihilation. An unexpected pulse wave cracked through the nebula, throwing frigates off course. Tavik's stomach knotted. One vessel spun uncontrollably. "Divert all available power to stabilization," he barked. Sensors indicated one harvester had adapted to their tactics, predicting maneuvers. The fleet twisted and looped, engines roaring in a desperate ballet. Every second brought new calculations, new risks, and new fractures in the tactical plan. Recon drones relayed microfracture readings. The node was exposed again, briefly. Tavik ordered concentrated fire, pulse sequences aligning perfectly with predicted structural weakness. Sparks flared across appendages, and the creature recoiled, energy pulses rippling through space. Engineers shouted recalibration orders, shields flickered, and pilots executed near-suicidal maneuvers. Humanity had survived another engagement, yet the cost was clear. Every move, every calculation, every spark of ingenuity was precious. The Predators were learning, and Tavik's fleet would need to evolve faster than ever. The fleet hovered at the edge of a dying star cluster, shadows stretching across fractured light. Tavik's sensors detected rapid appendage adaptation. The harvesters were predicting evasive vectors almost in real time. Pilots tightened formation, engines thrumming, shields at maximum capacity. Every microsecond counted. One misstep could obliterate a vessel. Tavik felt the oppressive weight of history and survival pressing down on him. Every heartbeat a reminder of the stakes. "Deploy nano-drones for node analysis," Tavik ordered. Tiny machines zipped through the void, streaming structural data. Pulse cannons fired in precise sequences, exploiting the faintest weaknesses. Sparks flickered across appendages, energy rippling like distorted light. Engineers monitored hull integrity, rerouting power to maintain shields. Humanity's ingenuity, fragile and brilliant, held the line for a precious few minutes. The Predators learned quickly, but every encounter revealed patterns, clues Tavik intended to exploit before the fleet was annihilated. A corvette screamed through the void, narrowly evading an appendage strike. Tavik's hands were steady, but his mind raced, calculating trajectories, energy flux, and timing. The dual harvesters pulsed in tandem, coordination almost perfect. Every vessel in the fleet strained under G-forces, engines howling as they executed maneuvers no human had survived before. The void felt alive, hostile, and incomprehensibly intelligent. "Focus fire on the distal nodes," Tavik barked. Pulse cannons discharged in synchronized arcs, striking faintly glowing conduits. The harvesters recoiled, appendages twitching unpredictably. Engineers rerouted energy, shields flickering, drones darting to maintain visual on vulnerable points. Data streamed in, microfractures appearing and disappearing as the creatures adapted. Humanity's ingenuity burned bright in tiny bursts, every success fleeting but critical. Tavik knew survival meant exploiting these small windows faster than the Predators could adapt. The fleet entered a dense plasma storm, sensors straining under chaotic energy readings. Tavik's jaw tightened. Maneuvering was nearly impossible, yet the harvester loomed nearby, appendages twitching, nodes glowing. Pilots felt the weight of centuries of unrecorded civilizations pressing down, every decision a gamble with humanity's survival. Engines screamed, shields flared, and the void seemed to pulse with predatory awareness. Tavik issued precise orders. Pulse sequences synchronized with plasma vortices. Maintain evasive vectors. Cannons fired, energy streaking through the storm, striking nodes during brief exposure windows. Engineers adjusted shields dynamically, drones darting through plasma filaments. The harvester recoiled, appendages twitching, yet adapted rapidly. Humanity's brilliance showed in microbursts of success, yet each was measured against overwhelming scale. Tavik's mind raced, calculating the next strike, the next maneuver, the next chance to survive the Predator's relentless intelligence. A sudden energy flare erupted from a distant star, illuminating the void. Tavik's fleet shuddered as appendages struck with precision. "Brace! Divert all energy to forward shields!" Tavik shouted. Sensors revealed microfractures forming across harvester nodes. The creatures adapted, learning from every pulse, every maneuver. Pilots screamed through gravitational eddies, engines straining beyond limits. The void itself seemed to pulse, alive and aware, testing human ingenuity at every turn. Tavik ordered a concentrated strike on exposed nodes. Pulse cannons flared, beams cutting through darkness. Sparks exploded across appendages, energy rippling unpredictably. Engineers recalculated shield output in real time. Drones darted for node analysis, and pilots twisted through the void with millimeter precision. Humanity held, fragile and brilliant, exploiting fleeting vulnerabilities. The Predators recoiled, but each engagement revealed adaptation. Tavik knew the war was far from over. Survival meant evolving faster than machines that devoured stars. The fleet paused near a shattered planet, energy readings erratic. Tavik observed the harvester's appendages, nodes pulsing in a rhythm almost intelligible. The dual Predators seemed to anticipate every maneuver, yet microfractures persisted, windows to exploit. Pilots held formation, engines humming, shields glowing under constant strain. The void pressed against them, unyielding, indifferent, yet the human spirit burned resilient. "Deploy synchronized pulse volleys," Tavik commanded. Cannons fired in perfect coordination, striking nodes as they flickered. Sparks illuminated the void, appendages recoiling unpredictably. Engineers rerouted power, shields flickered under stress, and drones zipped between debris. Humanity's ingenuity, fragile yet audacious, held the line. Tavik noted patterns in the harvester's adaptation, storing data for future engagements. The fleet had survived another encounter, but the Predators were learning faster than ever. The war for the galaxy pressed on, every second a battle between ingenuity and incomprehensible intelligence. The fleet skirted the edge of a collapsing quasar, its radiation flaring violently. Tavik's sensors screamed warnings. The harvesters were converging, appendages stretching across light years with lethal precision. Pilots gritted their teeth, executing near-impossible maneuvers through gravitational eddies. "Maintain formation," Tavik barked, voice sharp. Every calculation mattered. One error meant annihilation. The void seemed alive, warping under the Predator's presence, testing every ounce of human ingenuity. Drones darted ahead, scanning for structural anomalies. Pulse cannons fired in synchronized volleys, striking faintly glowing nodes. The harvesters recoiled, appendages twisting unpredictably, yet adapted quickly. Engineers rerouted power dynamically, shields flickering under immense strain. Humanity clung to survival in microbursts of brilliance, exploiting fleeting vulnerabilities. Tavik noted each reaction, storing patterns for future engagements. The Predators learned fast, but the fleet had begun to understand. They could anticipate, exploit, and survive, if only for moments. An energy surge rattled the fleet as a harvester appendage slammed near a corvette. Tavik's stomach twisted, heart racing. "Divert all auxiliary power to forward shields. Evasive vectors gamma," he commanded. Pilots screamed through gravitational turbulence, engines screaming. Sensors showed microfractures forming along the Predator's nodes, fleeting windows of vulnerability. Every second demanded perfection. One miscalculation meant obliteration. Tavik ordered concentrated pulse volleys, timing them with node exposure. Sparks flared, energy rippling across appendages. Engineers adjusted shield ratios, drones streamed live structural data, and pilots executed precision maneuvers. Humanity's ingenuity burned in bursts of brilliance, each momentary success measured against the scale of the predators. Tavik stored every insight, every anomaly, knowing these micro-wins might determine survival. The war for the Galactic Rim had escalated beyond tactical calculations. It was a battle of wits, instinct, and courage against incomprehensible intelligence. The fleet entered a dense asteroid field, hoping debris would mask movements. Tavik's eyes scanned sensor feeds, appendages twisting, nodes pulsing with unpredictable energy. The dual harvesters had begun exhibiting coordinated strategies, anticipating evasive maneuvers. Pilots twisted through gravitational eddies, engines groaning. The void itself seemed sentient, pressing in, testing human ingenuity. Tavik deployed microdrones in complex swarms, mapping nodes and structural weaknesses. Pulse cannons discharged in precise, synchronized arcs, striking momentary vulnerabilities. Sparks flashed across appendages, energy rippling unpredictably. Engineers recalculated shield output continuously, drones dodging debris and energy pulses. Humanity's ingenuity, fragile yet audacious, held the line. Tavik realized the predators were learning patterns, but so was he. Each engagement brought knowledge, tiny victories, and hope that survival was possible against entities older than galaxies. A corvette twisted violently as an appendage swept close, grazing the hull. Tavik's voice cut through comms. Focus fire on exposed nodes. Timing is everything. Sensors recorded the predator's adaptations. Calculations faster than AI could predict. Pilots maneuvered at the edge of physical limits, engines roaring, shields flickering. The void trembled under the predator's presence, yet human courage burned resilient. Pulse cannons fired, beams slicing through darkness, striking vulnerable nodes. Sparks danced across appendages, energy rippling through the void. Engineers shouted adjustments, recalibrating shields dynamically. Drones tracking structural microfractures. Small victories emerged, fleeting but critical. Tavik stored every anomaly, every predictable response, aware that patterns could be exploited in future battles. Humanity's ingenuity clung to survival in microbursts of brilliance, even as the predator's intelligence accelerated with every engagement. A sudden gravitational flare destabilized the fleet, throwing frigates off course. Tavik's jaw tightened. "Brace! Divert all power to stabilization systems." Sensors flashed warnings. Appendages struck with lethal precision. Pilots screamed through eddies of radiation, engines burning beyond limits. The dual harvesters coordinated flawlessly, learning from each pulse, each maneuver. Humanity teetered on the edge of annihilation. Tavik barked orders: concentrate fire on microfractured nodes, synchronize pulse with predicted exposure. Cannons flared, beams lancing through space. Sparks erupted across appendages, the creatures recoiling. Engineers recalibrated shields, drones darted for analysis, and pilots twisted through the void with razor precision. Humanity survived another engagement, but losses had been mounting. The predators were evolving faster than anticipated, and Tavik understood that survival would demand unprecedented ingenuity, courage, and sacrifice. The battle for the Galactic Rim had entered a new, deadlier phase. The fleet skidded along the edge of a collapsing star, engines straining against tidal forces. Tavik's sensors picked up unusual energy patterns, nodes pulsing in synchronization, evidence of coordinated harvester tactics. Pilots twisted through plasma filaments, dodging lethal appendages. The void itself seemed alive, each pulse a challenge to human ingenuity. Every ship in the fleet teetered on the knife edge between survival and annihilation. Tavik ordered synchronized pulse volleys targeting exposed nodes. Sparks erupted across appendages, energy rippling unpredictably. Engineers adjusted shields in real time, drones darting to maintain visual on vulnerable points. Humanity clung to life by precision, courage, and quick thinking. Patterns emerged in the predator's behavior, subtle, fleeting, yet exploitable. Tavik stored every detail, knowing that comprehension might mean survival in the next encounter. A sudden shockwave tore through the fleet as an appendage struck near a corvette. Tavik's stomach tightened, systems overloaded. "Divert auxiliary power to shields and engines," he barked. Pilots screamed through gravitational turbulence, engines groaning under stress. The Harvester's coordination grew more sophisticated, anticipating movements and countering evasive patterns. Humanity had never faced such intelligence. Yet Tavik's fleet pressed on, adapting with every second. Pulse cannons fired in synchronized sequences, striking microfractured nodes. Sparks danced across appendages, energy rippling like fractured light. Engineers recalibrated shields, drones darting between debris and radiation flares. Humanity's ingenuity burned in microbursts of brilliance, each success fleeting but critical. Tavik's mind raced. Each encounter revealed patterns, weaknesses, and timing opportunities. Survival depended on exploiting every anomaly before the predators adapted again. The fleet twisted through an asteroid graveyard, the void alive with energy and radiation. Tavik's eyes scanned the feeds, nodes pulsing, appendages twitching, predators coordinating with lethal precision, pilots strained against G-forces, engines screaming as they threaded narrow corridors of jagged rock. The void seemed to test them, every pulse a measure of courage and skill. Tavik deployed microdrones in complex swarms, analyzing node patterns. Pulse cannons fired arcs of energy, exploiting fleeting vulnerabilities. Sparks illuminated the darkness, appendages recoiling unpredictably. Engineers recalibrated shields, power surges snapping across the fleet. Humanity's brilliance showed in microbursts of resistance, each momentary victory critical. Tavik noted every anomaly, patterns that might allow survival or even success in battles still to come. An appendage slammed near a frigate, throwing it into a spin. Tavik barked orders. All squadrons, stabilize and return fire on exposed nodes. Sensors displayed rapid adaptation. The Harvesters were predicting vectors faster than the fleet could execute maneuvers. Engines groaned, shields flared, and the void trembled under predatory intelligence. Every officer understood the stakes. Failure meant annihilation. Pulse volleys are fired in precise timing with node exposure. Sparks erupted, energy rippling across appendages. Engineers rerouted power, drones darted for live structural analysis, and pilots executed split-second maneuvers. Humanity survived, fragile but brilliant, exploiting micro-windows of vulnerability. Tavik cataloged every reaction, every adaptation. The predators learned fast, but so did the fleet. Each engagement sharpened knowledge, courage, and tactical precision, all vital for the battles looming ahead. A sudden energy surge shook the fleet, throwing vessels off course. Tavik's stomach tightened. Divert all power to shields and engines. Brace for impact. Sensors displayed simultaneous appendage strikes, the dual harvesters coordinating flawlessly. Pilots twisted through debris, engines screaming. The void pressed down like a living entity testing human skill, instinct, and endurance. Tavik ordered concentrated pulse strikes, timing each volley with node exposure. Sparks danced across appendages, energy rippling through the void. Engineers recalibrated shields, drones darted to maintain visual, and pilots executed near-suicidal maneuvers. Humanity survived another encounter, but losses were mounting. The predators were evolving faster than ever, and Tavik realized the fleet needed a radical plan. Survival alone was no longer enough. They needed to understand the origin and purpose of the Harvester fleet. The fleet drifted into a quiet sector, sensors picking up anomalous energy readings. Tavik studied the data. Patterns emerging in the harvester's pulse sequences suggested intelligence beyond instinct. "They're learning our tactics," the science officer whispered. Pilots tightened formation, engines humming at near maximum output. The void seemed to watch them. Every node, every appendage a test of human ingenuity. Tavik deployed advanced microdrones to analyze node structure in real time. Pulse cannons fired in synchronized volleys, exploiting fleeting weaknesses. Sparks flared across appendages. Energy rippled unpredictably. Engineers recalculated shields dynamically, drones dodging debris and radiation. Humanity's ingenuity burned in microbursts of brilliance. Each engagement revealed patterns, anomalies, and possible origins. Clues Tavik intended to exploit before the predators adapted further. The stakes were higher than ever. A violent energy pulse erupted from the galactic rim, shaking the fleet. Tavik's stomach tightened as frigates veered off course. "Brace! Divert power to stabilization," he ordered. Sensors displayed microfractures forming along multiple nodes simultaneously. The harvesters had begun anticipating evasive maneuvers, coordinating attacks across vast distances. Pilots screamed through gravitational turbulence, engines straining, shields flaring. The void pressed in with lethal intent. Tavik barked orders. "Target exposed nodes. Fire on sequence Delta." Pulse cannons discharged, energy streaking across the void. Sparks flared across appendages, the creatures recoiling unpredictably. Engineers recalibrated shields, drones darted to maintain analysis, and pilots executed precision maneuvers. Humanity survived, but losses mounted. Patterns emerged. The harvester's intelligence was advancing, but small windows of vulnerability persisted. Tavik cataloged every anomaly, realizing that understanding these patterns might turn desperation into strategy. The fleet veered near a fractured star cluster, hoping gravitational eddies would mask movements. Tavik scanned the feeds, nodes pulsing in rhythm, appendages coordinating with lethal precision. Pilots twisted through debris, engines screaming, shields flickering under stress. The void felt alive, pressing against every ship, a relentless test of courage and ingenuity. Tavik ordered drone swarms to map node sequences and structural anomalies. Pulse cannons fired with perfect timing, striking momentary vulnerabilities. Sparks illuminated the darkness, appendages twitching unpredictably. Engineers recalibrated shields, power surges snapping across the fleet. Humanity's ingenuity clung to survival, fragile but brilliant. Tavik noted every response, every adaptation. The intelligence of the predators was staggering, but knowledge was their weapon. Survival depended on exploiting patterns faster than the harvesters could adapt. A corvette spun violently as a harvester appendage swept past, narrowly missing destruction. Tavik's voice cut across comms. "Stabilize. Concentrate fire on exposed nodes." Sensors displayed rapid adaptations. The predators had begun predicting vectors faster than human reflexes. Engines groaned, shields flared, and the void seemed to pulse with predatory awareness. Every officer understood the stakes. Failure meant extinction. Pulse volleys are discharged in precise synchronization with node exposure. Sparks erupted, energy rippling across appendages. Engineers adjusted shields in real time, drones darting to maintain structural analysis. Humanity survived, each micro-victory measured against impossible odds. Tavik stored every anomaly, every predictable response. The predators evolved faster than anticipated, but patterns existed, small windows for survival. Humanity's ingenuity burned bright, fragile yet audacious, as the war for the galactic rim entered an even deadlier phase. The fleet approached a dark nebula, shadows stretching across fractured light. Tavik's sensors detected multiple node fluctuations. A new harvester had joined the fray. Pilots tensed, engines humming at maximum, shields glowing. Coordination between predators was uncanny. Every maneuver tested precision, instinct, and nerve. The void itself seemed aware, pressing against the fleet like a living predator. Tavik activated synchronized pulse volleys targeting fleetingly exposed nodes. Sparks flared, energy streaking unpredictably across appendages. Engineers rerouted power dynamically, drones darting between plasma filaments, pilots twisting through narrow corridors. Humanity survived another encounter, fragile but defiant. Tavik realized the stakes had escalated. Understanding the origin and purpose of the harvesters could provide the edge to shift from survival to counterattack. The first real clue of their design or intent might determine the fate of the galaxy. The fleet slipped into the shadow of a collapsing star. Tavik's sensors detected energy patterns unlike anything before, nodes pulsing in complex sequences, hinting at intentional design rather than instinct. Pilots twisted through plasma filaments, engines screaming, shields straining. The void pressed in, oppressive and alive. Humanity had faced monsters before, but this intelligence was something else entirely. Tavik deployed micro-drones to map nodes in real time. Pulse cannons fired in synchronized sequences, striking exposed points. Sparks erupted across appendages, energy rippling unpredictably. Engineers recalibrated shields dynamically. Humanity survived, but the patterns in the harvester's behavior suggested not just learning, but purpose. Tavik realized that understanding these sequences could unlock the key to their origin, and possibly a way to fight back. An energy surge shook the fleet as a harvester appendage slammed near a frigate. Tavik barked orders: divert all auxiliary power to shields and engines, evasive maneuvers Delta. Sensors displayed microfractures forming along nodes. The predators had begun anticipating human tactics, coordinating across light years. Pilots screamed through gravitational turbulence, engines groaning. Every second was a life-or-death calculation. Tavik ordered concentrated pulse volleys on exposed nodes. Sparks lit the void, appendages twitching unpredictably. Engineers rerouted power, and drones darted to maintain node analysis. Humanity's ingenuity burned in microbursts of brilliance, each fleeting victory critical. Tavik cataloged patterns, rhythms, and vulnerabilities that might reveal their origin. Survival demanded not just courage, but understanding. Knowledge could be the difference between annihilation and strategy. The fleet twisted through an asteroid graveyard, engines roaring against gravitational eddies. Tavik scanned sensor feeds. Nodes pulsed, appendages synchronized with deadly precision. The dual harvesters had evolved coordination, predicting maneuvers with alarming accuracy. Pilots pushed to limits no human had survived before, every microsecond a gamble. Drones deployed in complex swarms, analyzing node sequences and microfractures. Pulse cannons fired arcs of energy, striking vulnerabilities that lasted mere moments. Sparks flashed, appendages recoiling unpredictably. Engineers recalibrated shields dynamically. Humanity's ingenuity, fragile and brilliant, held the line. Tavik realized understanding the predator's patterns, timing, node exposure, adaptation, was the first step toward counterattack. Survival was no longer enough. They needed an advantage. A corvette spun violently as an appendage struck near its hull. Tavik barked orders: stabilize, focus fire on exposed nodes. Sensors displayed rapid adaptation. The harvesters predicted vectors faster than human reflexes. Engines groaned, shields flared, the void alive with predatory intelligence. Humanity teetered on the edge of extinction. Pulse volleys are fired in precise timing with node exposure. Sparks erupted across appendages, energy rippling through the void. Engineers adjusted shields in real time, drones darting between debris. Humanity survived another engagement, but losses mounted. Tavik noted every predictable response, every anomaly. Understanding the harvester's intelligence might allow the fleet to exploit coordination patterns. Survival alone was no longer sufficient. They needed insight to fight back effectively. The fleet entered a dark nebula, shadows stretching across fractured light. Tavik observed nodes pulsing in rhythm, a sequence not random. A new harvester had joined, expanding coordination. Pilots tightened formation, engines humming at maximum output, shields glowing under constant strain. The void itself pressed against the fleet, testing skill, courage, and ingenuity. Tavik activated synchronized pulse volleys targeting exposed nodes. Sparks flared across appendages, energy streaking unpredictably. Engineers rerouted power dynamically, drones darting to maintain analysis, pilots twisting through narrow corridors of space. Humanity survived yet again, fragile but defiant. Tavik realized the origin of the harvesters and their purpose might be embedded in these sequences. Decoding them could be humanity's only chance to turn the tide of the Galactic War. The next move would define the survival of countless colonies. The fleet hovered at the edge of a dead star cluster, shadows stretching across fractured light. Tavik analyzed energy sequences. The harvesters pulsed in a rhythm almost intelligible. Pilots tightened formation, engines humming near maximum. Every appendage movement, every pulse seemed calculated, testing human limits. The void itself pressed in, alive with predatory intent. Tavik deployed microdrones to map node patterns in real time. Pulse cannons fired in precise arcs, exploiting fleeting vulnerabilities. Sparks flared across appendages. Energy rippled unpredictably. Engineers recalibrated shields dynamically. Humanity's ingenuity burned fragile but bright. Tavik stored every anomaly, every predictable reaction. These patterns hinted at origin and purpose. Understanding them could shift humanity from survival to counterattack. A violent surge of energy slammed through the fleet. Tavik barked orders. Divert all power to shields and engines. Brace for impact. Sensors showed microfractures forming along nodes. Pilots twisted through debris and radiation, engines straining. The dual harvesters coordinated with lethal precision, predicting every maneuver. Humanity had never faced intelligence like this. Pulse volleys struck exposed nodes, sparks flaring across appendages. Engineers recalibrated shields, drones streamed live data, and pilots executed split-second maneuvers. Humanity survived, but losses were mounting. Tavik noted every anomaly, every pattern, piecing together sequences that might reveal Harvester's origin. Survival was no longer enough. Insight was the weapon humanity needed to fight back effectively. The fleet twisted through a dense asteroid field. Tavik's sensors picked up node sequences, pulses in calculated rhythms. The harvesters had begun predicting evasive maneuvers with alarming speed. Pilots strained engines and reflexes to the limit, weaving through debris as the void itself seemed alive, pressing against human ingenuity. Drones deployed in complex swarms, mapping node microfractures. Pulse cannons fired arcs of energy, striking vulnerabilities that lasted mere seconds. Sparks illuminated the void. Appendages twitched unpredictably. Engineers recalibrated shields dynamically. Humanity clung to survival in microbursts of brilliance. Tavik realized that decoding these patterns could provide not just survival, but the first chance at a counteroffensive against the galactic predators. A corvette screamed through space, narrowly evading a harvester strike. Tavik's voice cut across comms. Focus fire on exposed nodes. Timing is everything. Sensors displayed rapid adaptation. The predators predicted vectors faster than any AI model. Engines groaned, shields flared, the void pulsating with lethal intelligence. Every officer knew the cost of error, extinction. Pulse cannons discharged in perfect synchronization with node exposure. Sparks erupted, energy rippling unpredictably across appendages. Engineers adjusted shields in real time, drones darting for analysis. Humanity survived, fragile but brilliant. Tavik stored every predictable response, every anomaly. Patterns hinted at design and purpose, a key to turning the tide. Survival was no longer the goal. Understanding and counterattack had become essential. The fleet drifted into a nebula of dark plasma, shadows stretching across fractured light. Tavik observed nodes pulsing in intricate sequences. Another harvester joined the fray, expanding coordination. Pilots adjusted formation, engines roaring, shields glowing under constant strain. The void pressed in, testing every human skill, instinct, and decision. Tavik activated synchronized pulse volleys targeting fleetingly exposed nodes. Sparks flared across appendages, energy streaking unpredictably. Engineers rerouted power dynamically, drones darting between plasma filaments. Humanity survived another encounter, fragile but defiant. Tavik realized the sequences might hold the ultimate clue, the harvester's origin and purpose. Decoding them could give the fleet the edge needed to strike decisively. The next move would decide the fate of countless human colonies. The fleet hovered before a colossal energy anomaly, nodes pulsing in intricate, almost mathematical patterns. Tavik's sensors confirmed it. This was the origin point of the harvester's network. Pilots adjusted formation, engines straining, shields glowing. The void pressed in, alive with intelligence that had spanned eons. Humanity faced not just a war, but a revelation. Tavik deployed the fleet's entire array of micro-drones, mapping every pulse, every node sequence. Pulse cannons fired synchronized volleys, targeting weak points revealed through analysis. Sparks flared across appendages. Energy rippled unpredictably. Engineers recalibrated shields dynamically. Tavik realized understanding this network could be humanity's only chance, not just to survive, but to strike at the heart of the Predator's intelligence. A sudden surge of energy threw frigates off course. Tavik barked orders. All power to shields and engines. Maintain formation. Sensors displayed microfractures across multiple nodes. The harvester's coordination was flawless, their intelligence almost prescient. Pilots twisted through gravitational eddies, engines screaming, shields straining. Every second was a gamble with history at stake. Tavik synchronized pulse volleys with microfracture windows. Sparks erupted across appendages, energy rippling through the void. Engineers adjusted shields, drones darted for analysis, and pilots executed precise maneuvers. Humanity survived, fragile but determined. Patterns emerged, revealing the Predator's origin, an ancient intelligence harvesting galaxies to perpetuate itself. Tavik realized the solution lay in exploiting its sequence, turning knowledge into humanity's ultimate weapon. The fleet maneuvered into a dense plasma storm, nodes pulsing with rhythmic precision. Tavik's mind raced, calculating timing, exposure, and risk. Pilots twisted through debris, engines screaming. The void itself seemed alive, pressing against every vessel. The harvesters adapted faster than ever, testing human ingenuity to its limits. Tavik deployed the final wave of drones to map the network's core. Pulse cannons fired with exact timing, striking critical nodes. Sparks flashed across appendages, energy pulsing unpredictably. Engineers rerouted shields dynamically, drones streaming vital telemetry. Humanity's ingenuity clung to survival, but Tavik had found the pattern, an exploitable flaw buried within the Predator's network. The coming battle would decide the fate of every colony. The harvesters converged on the fleet, appendages lashing in perfect coordination. Tavik barked orders. Engage the core sequence. Every node counts. Pilots screamed through plasma, engines straining. The void pulsed with ancient intelligence, vast and indifferent. Every second held the weight of centuries. Pulse volleys struck critical nodes in exact synchronization. Sparks flared, appendages recoiling, energy rippling through the void. Engineers rerouted power, shields holding despite overwhelming stress. Drones streamed live data, feeding Tavik the final key. The network's origin point was vulnerable. Humanity struck with precision, exploiting microfractures in the Predator's architecture. The first true blow had been landed, buying a chance for survival and a path to reclaim the galaxy. The colossal Harvester network writhed under sustained bombardment, nodes flickering and failing in rapid succession. Tavik watched, heart hammering. The void seemed to roar in protest, but humanity had struck the first decisive blow. Pilots executed synchronized maneuvers, engines screaming, shields at breaking point. Every second was a battle for existence. Sparks erupted across appendages, energy dissipating as microfractures cascaded through the network. Drones streamed live feedback, confirming systemic collapse. Tavik allowed himself a fleeting breath. Humanity had survived, exploiting intelligence older than galaxies, turning knowledge into a weapon. The fleet regrouped, battered but victorious, as colonies across the rim breathed relief. Humanity's courage, ingenuity, and resilience had not only bought survival, they had begun the first steps to reclaim the galaxy from the Harvesters. The war was far from over, but hope had returned. The end. Thank you for watching AstroMyths. If you enjoyed this story, smash that like button and subscribe for more epic sci-fi tales, cosmic mysteries, and mind-bending myths. And if you like this story, or have a myth, mystery, or galaxy you'd like us to explore, drop your ideas in the comments. We're always listening. Until next time, keep your eyes on the stars and your mind open to the unknown.